Single Girl Brunches with the Best is the Single Diaries signature interview series with extraordinary young women. Whether they're starting their own businesses, traveling the world, or chasing their dreams, these girls inspire us with their passions, ambitions, and accomplishments. They remind us of the importance of cultivating our relationships with ourselves so that we can bring the best of who we are into every other relationship in our lives. Over coffee at their favorite spots, they share their personal stories and tell us what it means to them to be a single girl.
On this episode of Single Girl Brunches with the Best, we're exploring Rhythm Abroad with Brittany Pierce.
Don't wait for someone to hire yourself or give you the key or, that kind of thing. Start creating your own destiny now and start road mapping your journey now. If you know that there's something that you're passionate about or something that you want to do, you have the power to make that happen. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
So I first saw you speaking at the Millennial Entrepreneur event, and I just have to tell you, your story personally really spoke to me. And it was because growing up, my dream for myself was that I wanted to be a host of a travel show. So I always thought, I'd grow up and I would be a host on the Travel Channel, and that was my big dream. And then I heard you speak about how you actually created your own travel show, which you produced, which is called Rhythm Abroad. And I never actually thought about that, of actually producing my own show. So today, I would just love to hear what that journey was like for you, like where you got the idea, what inspired you, and then maybe a couple bits of wisdom that you'd have for other girls who are trying to follow a passion of their own. So one thing, that I thought was most interesting was that you had never actually traveled internationally until you graduated college.
Right. I did not grow up with a silver spoon at all. The extent of my family vacations were going to Phoenix, Arizona to visit family or to go to Las Vegas and stay at the Circus Hotel. So, that was it.
The big
exactly. So that was it, and it wasn't until I had graduated college. I won a full ride scholarship in my senior year of college, but because my student loans had paid off all of my debt to the school, the money came trickling down to me. So I finally had the financial opportunity to be able to go someplace, and so I, thought, well, I could pay off my student loans with this money, but I'm not going to, right? So I thought,
giving you a golden ticket finally.
Exactly. So I, took that opportunity and went on a short-term study abroad program with a local community college and got the chance to finally go to Central America, Nicaragua, and Costa Rica. And I had an absolute fabulous time. And I actually took my mother with me. And
that's great.
Yeah. And so
had she traveled abroad?
No, it's her first time. So it was both of our first times going, and we had just a total blast. And that's where I fell in love with traveling abroad. I was like, how can I do more of this? This is what I want to be doing. I just didn't know that fast forwarding a couple of years that I would be the one to make that all possible for myself. So.
And how long after that trip did you get the idea to create Rhythm?
I think the idea started during that trip. I had went to a local club in Granada, Nicaragua, which is a small colonial town, and me and my travel mates were the only Americans in the club, and a guy asked me to dance in his broken English, and I responded in my broken Spanish, and it was great. It felt like I had really been invited in to participate in the Nicaraguan culture, if even just for a few minutes. And despite language barriers, despite background differences, this guy and I were able to share a few laughs, we were able to share positive energy, we were able to connect with each other by way of the universal languages of dance and music.
You had this really amazing experience, fell in love with travel, knew that you wanted to do something where you got to travel more often. What were you doing professionally at the time?
Well, I just graduated college and I had a job waiting for me in San Diego as a news producer and reporter. And that was a great opportunity. I, first of all, got to stay in a relatively big market right after college, which a lot of journalism students don't get to do. They have to go to small towns that they might not be familiar with.
Oh yeah, I know some of those.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
You're like, you're working where?
Yeah, exactly. So I was very fortunate, but I think with the big city also comes with a lot of pressure with the job as well. So I enjoyed what I did, but I knew that there was something out there that was going to be even more fulfilling for me, right? And so it wasn't until I decided to leave my job and moved back to Los Angeles, and I really gave a hard look at what it is that I wanted to do. And so I really thought about travel again. That's what I'm most passionate about.
Yeah. And when you decided to leave, you didn't yet have an exact plan in place.
No, I knew that I would probably just substitute teaching. I thought, well, if I'm not in television, the next best thing for me was really to help children, and I liked working with kids and whatnot, so I knew I was going to do sub-teaching, so I had a way to provide for myself.
Okay, so you had a backup plan.
I needed some money, right?
Had a backup plan.
So that was that, but in the meantime, I knew that wasn't going to be the end-all be-all kind of thing. So I decided to look for a travel host position, but as you can imagine, that's really niche. Far and few in between the job postings. So, but I still searched, and every one that I found, the description for the host was white, male, over 50. And I was like, I'm none of that. None of it.
Like, right? You didn't even check one box.
Yeah, not one box.
Like you were really fake any of that. You're like, no.
I'm 23, 22 years old. You know, I'm African American. I'm female. Oh gosh.
It's basically, you just described Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah, exactly.
You just want to replicate that model over and over again.
And I mean, if you watch PBS, all of the travel hosts for the most part are that, you know, white, male.
It's so boring.
Yeah. And I thought, well, okay, there's got to be something I can do here. But I didn't know what, and I remember waking up the next day, starting the job hunt all over again, and I was at my computer, and God whispered to me and said, hire yourself. That's all I heard was hire yourself. And it was one of those things where it's like, can I do this? Is this something that I can, is that possible? Yeah, you know? And I thought, well, why not? There are creators every day. There are inventors. There are people who make things and start things all the time. Be a creator. You don't have to be an employee. You can be a creator. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do this, you know? And so I started reaching out to, colleagues and just different people in my little small database, right?
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere. And so I called up a college friend who we had graduated together, and she was working in Fresno at several of the news affiliates. And so I emailed her and I said, hey, I have this crazy idea. I'd like to maybe start a show. I said, but, maybe when you're in town, maybe we could just shoot some stuff, and I don't know, we'll just see where it goes. And so she wrote me back and she says, well, actually, I've been laid off and I'm in LA now. And I said, well, that's great.
Perfect.
Yes, perfect.
Sorry, but perfect.
Yeah, it was literally that. Sorry, but perfect. And so we collaborated. And so we thought, how are we going to do this? I had two show ideas that I was kind of going back and forth with, but I kept coming back to the travel show. She says, well, there's only one problem. And I said, yeah, what's the problem? She says, we don't have any money to travel. And I'm like, yeah, we don't have any money. You're right. What are we going to do?
Right.
So
one little problem here.
Yeah. So I said, okay, well, we need to get creative. And so I thought, well, nobody's just going to hand us money. You don't just go and ask for someone to give you money. and then they just write out a check. It doesn't work like that. So I said, we got to give them something to believe in the project, to see the vision. And I said, so let's try to create a sizzle or some kind of demo that would demonstrate what this show idea is all about. And so we went to the ethnic enclaves of Los Angeles. So we went to Chinatown. We went to Little Brazil. Yes, there is a Little Brazil in Los Angeles. And we went to Olvera Street, and I did an Irish set dancing class and all of these different things. And then we did like this fast sizzle, and it made it look like we had a full 13 episode season.
It's brilliant.
And so that's what we started our website with, and that's what got other people interested in the project by seeing that video, because now it wasn't just an idea that I had to show or explain. It was like, this is what we're talking about here, you know?
You know what I love about that is that I think a lot of times people get these big ideas. I mean, I don't think there's a want of ideas, you know, but there's this big barrier between I have this big idea and how am I going to get there? And oftentimes you only see the end and you're like, it's just too much. Like, it's too big of a job for me to tackle. So what you did was basically say, I'm just going to take step one. Like, this is what I have to work with. This is the money that I have. This is the resources that I have. Like, let's just work with it and go from there. And I think that's important for everyone. Like, no matter what it is you're after, like, you can't be worried about what you don't have or how you're gonna get to like perfection.
And you know, I find that the most creativity comes out of those people who have very little, right? Because you're forced to push and be creative. I think about the street kids of South Africa and the dances or the music that they come up with from soda cans or you know, just any kind of things, and this is not just in South Africa, but this is all over the world. People are just being creative, and it's because of lack of resources, but yet they come up with something so beautiful, right? And so I think that's where the creativity came was we don't have anything, so we have to be creative, you know. And luckily, my colleague Kelly Vale, she's a great photographer. She had a camera she had just bought, and she was like, I just bought a camera, so that's kind of cool. And then we didn't have any editing equipment, so I called up some colleagues at my old news station. I was like, hey, can you hook us up with a program for free? You know, just trying to get whatever we could. And that's what got us started, you know, just relying on our network.
So from 2009 to 2014, you were actually working on developing Rhythm Abroad. I mean, that's a really long time.
It
is. In 5 years to actually not have the final product in hand. What was that like? I mean, what kept you motivated?
I think it was not wanting to fail, but I also think having a great support system from my family and friends that kept telling me, you know, keep going, you can't stop now, things are happening. But I also think the city of LA, everybody is trying to do something, you know? I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, you hear it all the time. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and whether they're really doing it or not, you don't know, but everybody, you know, says they're doing something. So you didn't feel so out of the box that, you know, you were still trying to make something happen, you know? And that's just all I really wanted, was to make that happen, you know? And I think when you want something bad enough, you just kind of stick with it. And, you know, I've heard it takes time, you know? I think some of the most successful people, businesses just don't start overnight, you know?
No.
And if they do, a lot of times they crash and burn. There was no growth, right? And so it happens too quickly, and then it burns. So I was okay with the slow development, even though inside I was like anxious and like, I just want it to start already. I just want to be traveling. So
no, it's I was thinking about this before too, because I've had to keep reminding myself everything takes much longer than it appears it takes. You see final products from people and you're like, how do they do it so fast? And what you don't realize is they didn't do it that fast. They've been working on it for years and years and years. You're seeing final product. And the only difference between what someone else has and what you have is often time. And like, that person was persistent enough to stick it out. Whatever their thing was, they stuck with it. And I think it's important to like remember that it's your own internal monologue that can make or break your success. Like if you're telling yourself like this thing's gonna work, I'm gonna make it, it's gonna be successful one day, whenever I reach that day, you'll get there.
Right.
And you have to really truly believe that. You have to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Like you have to believe it. Otherwise, no one's gonna make it 5 years. Like if maybe this happened, but I don't know. Like in year 2, if you stop believing, you're like, I don't know if this is ever gonna go anywhere.
Oh gosh. And of course there were times, and that's why I say, you have to have a good support system. And some of your friends might take you to be a little crazy, right? Or, oh, you're still trying with that thing, and it's like, yeah, I'm still trying with that thing. You know what I mean? It's called rhythm abroad. It's not a thing, okay?
Yes. Like, I believe in this.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
you need to believe in this.
Exactly. So, and then it happens, and then they're like, oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah. But I'll take it anyways. I'll take all the congratulations I can get,
You
because
deserve it. Yeah. I mean, that's part of it too. Like, you have to allow yourself to feel like I did this.
Yeah, because it takes some time. I know when we had the first release party for the first season, that was just such a great moment to be telling people like it's airing and it's here and it's done, and now from here it's going to be only about growth and continuing and taking it to new heights and platforms. So,
is there anything that you know today that you wish you would have known 5 years ago when you were first getting started?
Well, I can tell you one thing I wouldn't have wanted to know is the process of it, because I think if I had known that would have totally freaked me out. I think when you're young, really having a sense of self really helps when you're starting different journeys. You will meet different people in your life who can kind of deter you or add negativity, or even just their energy can be negative at times. So I think it's important to really know yourself and to stay true to yourself and your vision.
I think some of what you're talking about is really interesting because it kind of matches up with how we talk about the site. And when we talk about the site, we call it the Single Diaries, not because of relationship status, but because we say the single most important relationship you can have is the one with yourself. And that's always the most important thing. And I think you kind of said that in thinking about the same way we are, in that at the end of the day, you have to believe in what you're doing. You have to be proud of what you're doing. You can't be shy about what you're doing. And your support group and the relationships you have around you are extremely important. But you have to be secure enough to know when a relationship is good and when a relationship is not good and not healthy for you. And you can't rely on negative relationships to make you who you are. So I just kind of love how you put that. I think that's really important.
There's a fine balance of depending on your friends, but not putting too much dependability on them, because not everybody's going to share your vision. Like I talked about, there were, they're great friends. I love them. But there were some friends that were like, oh yeah, you're still working on that. And even though they didn't see the vision, I don't have to expect them to believe the vision. This is my vision. So the one that I need to believe in it is me. And then I can get other people to believe in it as I move along in my journey, And it's not for everybody,
But as long as you know what you're doing.
Exactly.
I think it's time for us just to pick up a few fun things from you. So we've got a set of some standard questions I'd like to ask every guest.
Okay.
And the first one is, if you had to pick one song that was going to play every single time you walked into the room, sort of like when a batter steps up to plate, what would your song be?
I think it would be Guapale, Closer. There's a...
I love hearing people's answers, by the way, because it's like never what you expect.
Because I just think it's like one of those things, like she talks about closer to her dreams, and I just love that line. So when I'm going through something hard or a new opportunity is, and I'm not sure if I can do this, it's like, okay, I can play this song and know that I'm getting closer to my dreams, and that's gonna make me happy.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah.
It's a beautiful answer. Love that. Okay, so second question is, what one story do you hope to be able to tell about your life when you're 80 years old? Like when you look back on your life, is there any one thing you want to make sure you do?
Yeah. I think that I don't know about one specific thing, but an overall thing, I would like to be able to tell a rounded story, one that's full of adventures and really great journeys. And with that comes challenges, struggles, successes. But overall, I just hope that the story is entertaining, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I can tell an entertaining story, that would be good. Then I know I live a full life, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, that's the least that you could ask for.
Yeah.
It's just to be able to have something that
Yeah.
you love to talk
Yeah,
about.
I mean, and they could be crazy stories, like the night I don't know, got lost, or just fun stories, and maybe even some challenging stories, but stories that have some light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, I'm sure with all the travel that you're doing,
Yeah, there
you'll
will
have
be
some good stories
to tell.
that should come out of that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Travel
Yeah.
makes for good conversation.
Travel, I can think of some good ones
Yeah.
that come around of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, if so my next question,
Yeah.
I think you sort of shared too, but I'd love to hear it. Is, are there any words that you live by? Do you have a quote or anything in particular?
Yeah, lead by faith and not by sight. It's the thing that I think keeps me going, because if we led by sight, I don't know where I'm headed tomorrow. So that would prevent me from doing a lot of things in my life, because I can't necessarily see how I'm going to get to the end result. And so you just have to kind of take a leap of faith in everything that you do, right? I think we do it when we're driving. I'm looking at the cars here on the boulevard, and it's like, you could get hit, you know? But you step into your car with a little bit of faith, and you trust your driving skills, and you trust the people around.
No, I do hope when you're driving, like there's some sight. Like you're lucky.
Yeah. So you might be right on that one. But overall, you know.
Okay, but of everyone that I've asked, I actually feel like these are words we live by. Like everything you've said today, like the 5-year process, or the 2006-2015 process.
Yeah.
It's like, you had no idea.
Yeah.
Unless you don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's gonna work out. All you got is faith.
Exactly.
You gotta go with it.
Gotta go with it. Yeah. So that's
but I'm probably gonna leave before you leave.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna make sure I get in my car and take.
I'll make sure to use a little sight that I promise I won't drive with my eyes closed.
Oh my God.
That would be bad.
My last question actually comes from another young woman who we had on the site.
Okay.
And she had a dinner party. And she asked us all to go around the table and fill in the sentence, I'm a badass because. And so I want you to fill in the sentence.
Okay.
I'm a badass because.
Okay. I'm a badass because I don't take no for an answer. That's why I'm a badass.
Yeah.
And I will continue to do that. When there are roadblocks, I will find another way of how to get over the hump.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
Yeah.
You are a badass.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing this today.
Thank you. It's been really great.
Yeah, really great. Yeah.